Hello. This is Michelle Mickey Jones, and I am a writer, a poet, a published author, and I just happen to be a social worker. And my goal is to, all of that, help other writers to write and improve upon the skills that they already have as a writer. So I use my social work techniques and skills, or my social work skills and my writing experience, to help develop and implement those techniques that will help you as a writer to become more authentic in your voice. And I want to help people to hear the real you. There you go. Jeez, that took a long time to get out. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied lately. Maybe it's because I'm tired. But anyway, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day to you. So if you have been following me for a while, I say thank you. I thank you. And if you are new to following me, you can scribe inside of the feed #new, and I say welcome to you. Now, what are we talking about today? Today, we are talking about creating a complete you. I mean, a complete you across the board. Do you sound the way you sound on paper and in person? Is it the same you? Okay. So what do I mean by that? All of us have a particular way of speaking, a particular mannerism about us, a particular texture of language that we use. Does that convey, both on paper and in person, to be who you are? Can I read something and hear your voice in that reading, and know that when you speak, I am going to hear that same voice? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about creating the same you on paper and in person. So most people that know me know that I am a very upbeat and happy, and I cuss sometimes type person. That's my character. That's my nature. I'm going to make you smile. I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to cut a few jokes, but I'm also going to give you the down, dirty, hardcore truth. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't make it seem like anything that it shouldn't be. And I'm not out to hurt your feelings. So if you ever come to me and you say, oh, I need your opinion on something, my first statement to you is, are you sure that's what you want? Because I'm not cutting any corners with you. I'm giving it straight, no chaser. So if the dress looks ugly, the dress looks ugly. If the tie doesn't match, then the tie doesn't match. If that girl is not right for you, then that girl is not right for you. If that story doesn't fit you, guess what? That story doesn't fit you. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being the same you. Now, whether or not you read my poetry, whether or not you read my chapter in the book, whether or not you read my new book, I'm talking about different subjects. In my poetry, I'm talking about spirituality, knowledge, and temptation. So I'm talking about the mind, the body, and the soul, and I'm talking about a lot of sex. That's in my poetry. But I do it in a way that you know that it's me. I'm never disrespectful. I'm never tawdry with it. I'm never vulgar. It's always that thought-provoking type atmosphere. In my chapter, Monster in Their Eyes, I speak about sexual abuse, and I speak about rape, and I speak about healing, and I speak about a disconnect between a mother and her children. And then I tell you about how we bridged that gap and got back to being a family again. Even though we went through all of the bull crap, we got back to being a family. So that's a very emotional and intimate story, but it comes across as me. It sounds like me. I write it the way that I speak it. So if I was telling you the story like I am now, that's the same tone and attitude that you would get if I was writing the story. Now, my book on lupus that I am in the process of finishing now is about my journey. And it is really about me. It's about my life and how I learned to live healthy with lupus. So it's going to sound like I sound. So when we get editors we have to have a conversation with our editor so that our editor can know our character. The editor can know our mannerisms. That editor can know our style. That editor can know that I make up words sometimes. And those words make sense. I explain what those words are. But guess what? Those are some made up words, so please don't correct the English on them. And I meant to say ain't when I said ain't, because I do know proper English. Grandma would kill me if she knew that I was saying ain't, but it's okay. So when you write, it is very, very important that you sound the same on paper and in person. In my article that I wrote about college life, it was something new for me, but I had to still make it sound like me. So I had to approach it in my language. I used college language, or more higher level intellectual educational language. But I also made sure that when I gave you the points and the tips for the parents to follow to be able to communicate with their children, that I broke it down in its simplicity. And that's what I do. It still sounds like me. It still is me. It still has that voice of me. And it's the same me. So no matter what genre of writing I choose to enter into, it's always going to be me. You're always going to hear my voice. So that's what I, as a writer, want to help other writers to make sure that they always do. If you are not a romance writer, then I don't expect you to be a romance writer. If you are not a how-to, informational, instructional type writer, I don't expect that from you. But if you were to do something of that, and if you were to take on that challenge, I expect to hear you. I expect you to give those minute details and those instructions in a voice that sounds like yours. So if you want to call a screw a nut, then you call a screw a nut, because I know that's how you talk. And I know exactly what you mean. You might write in parentheses to say, oh, y'all know I meant to say a screw, but I called it a nut. I know exactly who you are and what you're talking about, and I can still follow your instruction. Okay? So when we talk about whether or not we can create the same you sounds the same on paper as you do in person. And that takes us back to the very first part of this week's series, which is credibility. That lends to your credibility. That means that people that follow you, people that read your work, people that encourage you, expect to hear the same thing. They expect to hear your same voice. You can fluff it up and try editorials, or you can try fairy tales and fantasy, but it has to sound like you. Never let anyone push you to a place of writing that you are not ready to go. I didn't say willing, I said ready. Because as a writer, we explore different avenues, but we have to prepare ourselves mentally to get there, and sometimes emotionally. So when you talk about creating the same you have to make sure that you sound the same on paper and in person. Okay? So this is Michelle Mickey Jones, and I am a entrepreneur. I am a writer. I am an author, published author, best-selling #1 Amazon author, and I happen to also be a social worker. And my goal in life is to help other writers write and to improve upon the skills that they already have. I want you to be your more authentic self. I want you to be able to create the same you. Have a great evening.